All right, Viraj, I think we can start, correct?
Yeah, bro.
All right, perfect. So those who have joined in right now can bring their friends as well. We'll be starting now. And yeah, so good evening, everyone. We have with us Vaidehi Vaidya, who is the founder and managing director at Women in Sport India. Her journey has been inspiring, and her aim to change the sports scene in India is really motivating. Let us get to know more from Vaidehi herself.
Thanks, Arnav. Thank you so much for that introduction, and it's very nice to be here. As you know, as a part of sports ecosystem, I am always happy to talk to the younger generation because a lot of people are interested in sports, and in India, especially in last few years, sports has become one of the most upcoming and most developing field in India, especially. You can look at our Olympic tally this year. So that tells you that lot has been happening over the last few years, and there's a lot to do also in coming decade or so. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And we have limited time, so I'm going to just introduce where we are in sports in India particularly, and then I would prefer that if people have questions, then I would rather answer questions. I love talking to people and love answering questions. So to begin with, it's just last a decade or so where India has been concentrating a lot on sports. Before that, when I started playing football, I'm a football player, or rather I don't play football that much anymore. Sorry for the interruption, I'm home. So when I started playing football, this was what, 8 years back. Sports in general and women's sports to be specific wasn't much developed. I won't say it is still developed, but we are definitely working towards it. And a lot of intelligent people are entering sports field and looking at it as a permanent career, or one of the career options that they want to work in. Big colleges, universities are also starting their sports management degrees, especially IIMs. Rohtak IIM has started their sports management degree. There are a lot of sports management courses upcoming in India. 8 years back, there was just one. And in last couple of years, there have been a lot of sports management courses, popping up everywhere. So there is a lot of opportunity, but when we enter sports field, we need to understand what is right for us, and what are the fields, what is our background, and what are the fields that are appropriate for particularly an individual, right? Because I believe that the work that you do should match your personality. And I'll give you a short example of that. I was working in football development. I loved the job. But then I decided that I want to get into sports and start something on my own. Right. So I started, athlete branding or athlete brand development company. Right. It was called Alter Ego. And I was doing well in it. But at the end of the day, when I came home, it wasn't something that I wanted to do for a long time. So if you want to do something for a long time, you need to ask this question to yourself: is this something that I'm going to be able to do for 15, 20 years, 30 years? I'm a second generation entrepreneur. My dad is also an entrepreneur, so I come with that background, but it wasn't something for me. He's an electrical engineer. He has a business in electrical engineering consultancy. Again, I asked myself the same thing: can I do this for 15, 20 years? What he was doing or he is doing. I couldn't. I knew that from the beginning, and I've always been an athlete. I've played taekwondo for 7 years. Then later on, I connected with football, and I played football for more than 10 years now. again, I asked myself, is this something that I want to do for 15, 20 years from now on? Can I make my career in sports? And the answer was yes. Right. So it was something that I wanted to do for a long time. But that being said, sports has different verticals also. Sports management is one of the vertical that you can think about. There is sports science, which is sports nutrition, exercise science, psychology, physiotherapy. That's the whole sports science vertical. Then there is sports analytics. Sports media and broadcasting is an upcoming field where you can enter into creating your own YouTube channel. YouTube has become one of the go-to destinations. So YouTube channel, you can be part of Star Sports, Hotstar, platforms like that. You can become an anchor, you can become a commentator, you can become a statistician. You can get into sports analytics and help different players, teams. So there is a lot to do. But what exactly is that? For that, you need to explore the field more. One of the things that I always tell people is, you need to talk to people who are working in sports. And if you are, if you are an undergraduate student or postgraduate student, be on LinkedIn, because most of the sports fraternity is available on LinkedIn, and they work in various different, verticals. They work in various different fields. Uh, yeah, you can do sports management, but what exactly is sports management? Is it sports marketing? Is it sports operation? What entails when I say, I want to work in sports management? What does it mean? There are so many different things you can do. So you need to experience it all. Sports in India isn't standardized like IT field or medical field. You take a path and you end up where you're supposed to end up. You know where you're going. Sports isn't that kind of field. There's nobody who can tell you, okay, if you choose this, you're going to end up here. Nobody can tell you that. You have to explore. You will be the first ones to carve a particular path, right? It's a bane and boon both. uh, you know uh, in terms of being a pioneer, starting something from scratch and being the first one, it's always an advantageous thing. But at the same time, there's nobody to guide you or tell you, okay, this is something that you need to do if you want to become successful in this field. Of course, there are a lot of mentors, there are a lot of advisors. I do have a lot of mentors, phenomenal people around me. They will always help you, and this is one of the speciality of sports field, right? Everybody in sports will help you, because it's one of the most close knit. It's like a family. When you enter that field, you're part of something bigger. You are part of the tribe. You tell people I'm working in sports, and they immediately say, come back and say, yeah, what do you need? How can we help? That is that familiarity, that bonding is of course there, and there will be a lot of people to help you out. But in the end, that clarity of what exactly you want to do in sports, you will have to get it on your own. Nobody is going to be in your shoes, and that happened with me. I was working in sports for 7 years, and then this question came to me, and it asked, what exactly do you want to do? What exactly do you mean to do in sports? Okay, yeah, you're working in football development or sports development. You have worked with Olympic level athletes, international athletes, number ones in India, but where is it taking you? um, and then I had to find that answer on my own, right? So there are people who will help you, but that answer you have to find on your own. But just to give you a brief of what are the things that you need to consider when you are thinking about getting into sports and thinking about sports as your career. One of the things that you need to think about, if you're young enough, if you're 14, 15 years old, one of the things that you need to seriously consider is, can I become an athlete? If yes, then you need to realistically analyze your own skills, practically analyze your own skills and think to yourself, do I really have the skill set to become a professional athlete? right? That is the first question you should ask. And then if answer is yes, then you need to do whatever it takes to get there, be at the top. But if not, then you need to start exploring what are other choices. What else can I fit sports and career together? So there are a lot of things that you can do. Okay. So I'm just going to take you through sports trends so that you will have an idea of where you should, or what are the opportunities you should think about. So football industry is growing fast. It's growing 30 to 35% every year, right? So that is an upcoming field. The second field that you should think about, and I'm sure during pandemic, I think you would have understood this, is fantasy games or esport particularly. It was supposed to be $1 billion industry or $2 billion industry in 10 years, but it has already reached that mark. So esport is something that you should seriously think about. The third field and upcoming field is women's sports, especially in India with the kind of medals that we are getting. Athletes are doing well. So on ground sports, women's sports is doing phenomenal, but the support system that women need on field is lacking in India. There is a demand, but there isn't supply. So if you are interested in women's sports, that is definitely something that you need to think about. In next 5 years or so, I won't be able to say the same thing. So right now is the time to get in these three fields, because it's growing fast. I think sports field is growing faster than we can comprehend or catch up with. So you need to do it now if you want to do something in sports. So that those are the three things that you should keep in mind. Government has started supporting sports a lot. You will see that through campaigns like Hello India. Tops, for example, government is supporting all athletes. They're developing infrastructure. We are actually bidding for 2036 Olympics. So from a government point of view, government support is definitely a lot more compared to before. So that's a positive sign. There are policy decisions being made at the top, which are conducive to the growth of sports. So in general, sports is growing exponentially. So just to take you through what are the career options. One, like I said, sports management is definitely an option, but what exactly it entails. So there are a lot of options that you can think about. Sports operations is there. Sports operations it means whatever happens during a match, or whatever happens, let's say, for example, there is a club, whatever happens in that club, towards the match. So that is sports operations. The other is sponsorship. The third one is broadcasting, what Star Sports does with IPL, PKL, ISL, that's broadcasting. There are a lot of underlying things that happen during broadcasting. Producing is part of broadcasting. Making advertisement deals is part of broadcasting, so that is also part of sports management. Event management is also part of sports management. What else? I mean, there's a lot. The other upcoming field is sports analytics, like I said. Sports sciences, sports nutrition. Players are being more aware of sports psychology, because during lockdown we understood how important psychology is, right? So even for athletes and their better performance, sports psychology is very, very important. So that is an upcoming field that you can think about in sports sciences. Sports exercise and science, which is strength and conditioning, right? Each sport will need a different kind of fitness, and the person who is expert in this is called sports and conditioning coach, right? That person is going to give an athlete a curriculum, or rather a training schedule, and that athlete is going to train according to that schedule, according to the sports that he or she is going to play, right? So that is again another aspect of sports science. Then physiotherapy is another one. It's different from SNC, sports, strength and conditioning. Physiotherapy is, you have to take care of your body so as to not get injured during a sport, a match, or a game. And post injury also, you have to take care of your body. So what are those things that you need to do? So that's sports physiotherapy. Sports law is another field. We have very few sports lawyers in India. I can name them. Ahana Mehrotra is there, Nandan Kamath is there. So, but there are very few sports lawyers and also sports law firms. So that is another field that you can think about. Infrastructure development. Sports is growing fast, but do we have places to play a particular sport? So that is another field that you can think about. You may not necessarily need a sporting background for this. Civil engineer can, or an architect can definitely think of sports infrastructure development as one of the fields. Retail and equipment. Decathlon is one of the biggest example of this. And there are a lot of upcoming brands, indigenous brands. 6x6 is an example. Wrong, which is a Virat Kohli brand. That is an example. So retail, merchandising, and equipment development is another field that you can think about. Sports fitness, yeah. I mean, it's different from strength and conditioning, but you create gym exercises, for example. Or for example, if you are entering Ironman competition, then you think about what sort of fitness I need for that particular competition, right? So sports fitness is another field that you can think about. And then last but not least, coaching and referee. Those are two technical fields, and there is a process of getting, licensed, and that will depend on each international federation and sport, right? Each sport and each international body will have a different levels of coaching, different structure of coaching, and you will have to go through that structure to get that license and then coach at the highest level. So these are some quick this is a quick overview of what you can look forward to in sports field. So Anna, I think I'm going to stop here. I would rather not bombard people with a lot of information, so we can take questions if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, this was great. I enjoyed every bit of it and got more insight into sports. We'll quickly take questions. We would prefer verbal questions, so you could raise your hand and you could unmute your mic. So Suren has a question. Suren, I will give, if Viraj, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so people raising their hands, could you please let them unmute?
Hello.
Yeah, hi Suren.
Hello, hi. Myself, my name is Surena. I'm interested in roller skating, but I think there's no proper career of it in India, especially in India.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about growing in that roller skating as a career?
Okay, Suren. So you have to think practically, right? Where does roller skate, career lead to? It has to lead to Olympics. What is the end goal? That is something that you need to think about. Players are playing. Is there a World Cup for roller skating? Is there, another tournament that they can participate for? So you need to think from a end goal perspective. In 10 years, in decade or so, we don't know if it is going to become one of the biggest sports. But from a practical perspective, right now, you need to think about what you can do for the players. They cannot just skate. So it needs to lead somewhere. So is it Winter Olympics? Is it, skating on blades, maybe, speed skating, so you need to think about that. You also need to think about, if at all these players go into Winter Olympics, what are the infrastructure facilities available? Is there something? I think there's only one ring in Ladakh that we have. So you would need to go there. So you need to think from a practical perspective here, and you need to chart out. You know the field better than I do, but you need to sit down and plan and see what the opportunities are. Is there a tournament that they can participate? Because the players who are playing, they need to see an end goal. And with the players, you also need to see end goal, right? It needs to lead somewhere. And that is, I think, globally for skating, I think that is lacking, at least as far as I know. We can talk more on this. I can definitely put you in touch with the relevant people if you want to get in touch with, there are a lot of ice skaters that I know, and they have been roller skating before they entered, winter sports. So that's something that you can definitely think about.
Actually, roller skating is quite different from ice skating, but ice skating
It is, I know that it is, but you need to also think about what is the end goal, right? So for example, I'll give you an example. When a player, now I have to come back to cricket or badminton for that matter. Let's talk about badminton. Badminton is a recently developed sport, right? It wasn't big before. Apart from cricket, nothing was big before. But badminton is one of the greatest example of how development has happened in that particular sport. So earlier, players would play badminton and there were few tournaments that they would participate in. But now the change is that they see that Olympic is the goal, right? PV Sindhu won the medal. So every player has an end target, right? There would be an end target in roller skating. I don't know. You know that, right? So what is it? Is there a World Cup? I don't need an answer from you. I just want you to think from, a different perspective. Like, yeah, roller skating.
But what I
players,
feel was it is just it's like a freestyle rather than a goal perspective.
sorry, say that again.
It's like many people don't aim for like goals. They do on their own, like own freestyle skating. It's like a freestyle skating.
So there are two aspects to sports, right? It's one is recreational sport, which you play. You don't compete or anything. You just do it for your own enjoyment. And the second is competitive sport. So each will have their choice, correct? Each will be, I want to compete, or I just want to enjoy. I don't want to compete. Depending on that, you will need to help them to create a goal. This is a very common problem. Players don't have goals. Players don't plan. That's a problem. And that needs to be solved either by coaches or by people like you. For example, if you're a player, then once you realize that planning and goal setting is required, then you help other players do the same, right? So you need to start with yourself. What is my 2-year goal? What is my 5-year goal? If I am in roller skating, right? So you need to think from that perspective. Okay. But connect with me. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. We'll talk more.
Okay. Thank you. And one more thing. There is a roll ball which is come from roller skating, which is invented by an Indian.
Yeah.
And it has some goal. It has some goals. Like it's like a basketball and skating.
Yeah, I know roll ball. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is another sport that you can think about, right? But yeah, we can talk more. Connect with me on either on LinkedIn, or Arnav has my email address. Feel free to take it from him.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suren, for that question. We have Mehul. Viraj, could you please unmute Mehul, and then Zoom user as well?
Yeah, hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hi Mehul. Yes.
Hello, ma'am. So my question was that we listed a bunch of streams which we can take in sports management, but there are some streams which do not require like specific qualification. For example, some parts of broadcasting or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like I had a chat with Jatin Sapru a couple days back. So he was like completely
Who
through
did you talk to? Sorry.
Jatin Sapru.
Okay.
So he completely made his career based on internships and work experience. So he went through ESPN and then from radio to ESPN to then Star Sports. So, but making those having those connections in such big industries, in such big companies, it is very difficult. Like it's near to impossible. So how to go about that? Because we can't get placed from a college or an institute in such industries.
Yeah, good question. So let me be honest with you. If you want to get into sports, any kind of sports, any field, except for sports science, you don't really need any qualification. If you want to get into sports management field, I'm not talking about course, you do not need sports management degree. You just need connections. The easiest way of doing that is by using LinkedIn. When I started in sports, there was no LinkedIn. You are lucky. You have LinkedIn. It's such a big platform. There are a lot of people working in sports on LinkedIn. And you have to start small. So when I started, I didn't know anybody in sports. I started with the bottom layer. Let's say you want to get in touch with somebody in Star Sports, for example. Then you start with the lowest level employee in Star Sports, because they are more probably they will reply to you rather than you directly connecting with a VP or whatever, like producer or something. So start low. You won't be able to get highest connection in your first message. You won't be able to do that. They are going to ask you, who are you to ask me these questions? So you have to first prove your worth. So start at the bottom and work your way up. The first connection is going to give you the next connection. That next connection is going to give you the next connection. So that's how you climb up the ladder. Okay, don't expect that VP of Star Sports or Hotstar or whatever, like I don't know, ESPN is going to message you back. No, they are very busy people, right? And they get million messages like us. So you have to start from the lowest level. Connect with anybody and everybody from sports, because it's all interlinked. So if I am in sports, I know somebody in ESPN or Star Sports. That somebody in ESPN and Star Sports will know somebody in, whatever, like IOC. You never know, right? So it's all connected. Start with anybody and everybody. Plain and simple. And, don't just message them saying, we are looking for an opportunity, internship opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Say that I am interested in working in XYZ field in sports. And I was wondering if we could set up a 10-minute call so I can understand your work. Okay. I am more likely to reply to that mail or message than just people saying, oh, nice to connect with you. I am looking for an opportunity, internship offer. I would not reply to that messages. I get 10 messages like that every day. So imagine a VP or like, president of ESPN or Star Sport, how many messages he or she must be getting, right? So you have to be very clever in your communication. I would say send 100 messages, right? I did the same thing. I sent about 100,000 messages and I only got 10, 15, 20 replies. That's how you start. It's a start. It builds, right? That's how I built my network. Okay. I hope that I have answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take one or two more questions. We have Siddharth Reddy with his hand raised. Viraj, could you please unmute?
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm a founder of an esports startup based out of Bangalore. We are gaming partners with PS University and a couple of other universities, MS Ramaya. My question is, a lot of girls in these universities, a few of them want to start esports as a commentator, or they are even streamers who have started their own YouTube channel with gaming. So my question is, women in sports. So what's your take on women in esports in the gaming industry, which is in a very starting stage in the country right now?
Okay, so there was also a question connected to this, Siddharth. So I'm going to also answer that. So what is probably, Siddharth, you are the right person to answer that question. So somebody's, so this Zoom user is asked, what is esport? Could you maybe quickly answer that in a couple of sentences?
Yeah, esports is basically games that are taken to competitive levels like CS:GO and Rainbow Six. These are games that have a lot of gamers playing on the platform, which has the chance and the potential to take it into a competitive levels.
Correct. It's same as a tournament played, a sports tournament played only online, to be honest, right? So it's to simplify it. And there are a lot of upcoming esports, which are making buzz, especially in lockdown. The whole esport industry got a lot of boost because everybody was stuck at home. They couldn't go out and play. So everybody kind of got into esports, and that industry is blowing up now. Even Olympics is probably going to support esport. I don't know, hopefully.
Yes, it is. It is just starting out of 2021. It's 2021.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they are going to host a demo game in 24. We'll see about that. I hope they do. Personally, I am very interested in seeing where esport industry goes, and I'm a big supporter of esport. Unfortunately, there are very few, professional level female esport players, right? And I would love to explore this with you. If you already know them, if they are already streaming or you on YouTube, let's connect, because I am personally very, very interested in esport, and I'm trying to. So I know, director, I think he's director, but director of Esports Federation of India, right? And I would love to connect him with you. But yeah, I mean, I would love to set up a call with you, Siddharth, to just explore this a little bit.
Sure, ma'am. I will connect with you through LinkedIn, ma'am.
Yeah, because I am personally, if you ask me on an individual level, I am very interested in esport, and I'm looking to connect with female players, in esport. So I would be definitely interested in talking to you more, for sure.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm interested too. We'll take it further, ma'am. Thanks for answering the question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Siddharth, and thank you, ma'am, for coming and joining us today. I think we have come to the end of the session. All the questions that we'll be repeating from now on. And this was great. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. We'll post this on YouTube as well, so the recording will be available. We couldn't live stream it, unfortunately, but we'll post it as soon as possible once we get the recording. Thank you so much. Good evening and bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnav. Thank you, everybody. Take care and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.